Hello everyone, my name is Gina, graduate student of Biomedical Engineering, Universitas Airlangga. Through this video, I will sharing about applied physiology of respiratory system and its homeostasis imbalance. So your body cell continually use oxygen for the metabolic reactions to release energy from nutrient molecules and produce ATP. At the same time, these reactions release carbon dioxide. Because an excessive amount of carbon dioxide produces acidity that can be toxic to cells, excess carbon dioxide must be eliminated quickly and efficiently. The cardiovascular and respiratory systems cooperate to supply oxygen and eliminate carbon dioxide. The respiratory system provides for gas exchange, intake of oxygen, and elimination of carbon dioxide. And the cardiovascular system transports blood containing the gases between the lungs and body cells. Failure of either system disrupts homeostasis by causing rapid death of cells from oxygen starvation and buildup of waste products. In addition to functioning in gas exchange, the respiratory system also participates in regulating blood pH, contains receptors for the sense of smell, filters inspired air, produces sounds, and reads the bodies of some water and heat in the exhaled air. As in the digestive and urinary system, which will be covered in subsequent chapters. In the respiratory system, there is an extensive area of contact between the external environment and capillary blood vessels. First, we have to know about its anatomy of respiratory. Okay, so we have to know about the functional from respiratory system. First, respiration. It provides oxygen in the body, and the second is circulation, deliver oxygen and nutrition, and the last is metabolism for produce energy or ATP. And its anatomy from the upper respiratory system includes the nose, nasal cavity, pharynx, and associated structures. The lower respiratory system includes the larynx, trachea, bronchi, and lungs. So the external portion, they act with the cardiovascular system to supply oxygen and remove carbon dioxide from the blood. The external portion of the nose is made of cartilage and skin and is lined with a mucous membrane. Openings to the exterior are the external nares. The internal portion of the nose communicates with the paranasal sinus and nasopharynx through the internal nares. The nasal cavity is divided by nasal septum. The anterior portion of the cavity is called the vestibule. The nose warms, moistens, and filters air and functions in olfaction and speech. The pharynx or throat is a muscular tube lined by mucous membrane. The anatomical regions are the nasopharynx, oropharynx, and laryngopharynx. The nasopharynx function in respiration. The oropharynx and laryngopharynx function in both breathing and digestion. The larynx or voice box is a passageway that connects the pharynx with the trachea. It contains the thyroid cartilage or Adam's apple, the epiglottis, which prevents food from entering the larynx, and the cricoid cartilage, which connects the larynx and trachea, and the paired arytenoid, the corniculate, and cuneiform cartilage. The larynx contains vocal folds which produce sounds as they vibrate. Throat folds produce high pitch and one produce low pitches. Trachea or windpipe extends from the larynx to the main bronchi. It is composed of C-shaped rings of cartilage and smooth muscle and is lined with pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. The bronchial tree consists of the trachea, main bronchi, lobar bronchi, segmental bronchi, bronchioles, and terminal bronchioles. Wall of bronchi increasing contain rings of the cartilage. Walls of bronchioles contain increasingly smaller plates of cartilage and increasing amounts of smooth muscle. Lungs are paired organs. Here we go. This is, I'm sorry. This is the main anatomy of respiratory system, and it's the lungs. Lungs are paired organs in the thoracic cavity enclosed by the pleural membrane. The parietal pleura is the superficial layer that lines the thoracic cavity. The visceral pleura is the deep layer that covers the lungs. The right lung has three lobes. This is the right lung, has three lobes separated by two fissures. This is fissure. Okay, then the left lung has two lobes separated by one fissure and a depression, the cardiac notch. Okay, lobar bronchi give rise to branches called segmental bronchi, which supply segments of lung tissue called bronchopulmonary segments. Each bronchopulmonary segment consists of lobes, which contain lymphatics, arterioles, venules, terminal bronchioles, respiratory bronchioles, alveolar ducts, also alveolar sacs, and alveoli. Alveolar walls consist of type 1 alveolar cells, type 2 alveolar cells, and associated alveolar macrophages. Gas exchange occurs across the respiratory membranes. And so we have the second section is pulmonary ventilation. Pulmonary ventilation or breathing consists of inhalation and exhalation. The movement of air into and out of the lungs depends on pressure change, governed in part by Boyle's law, which states that the volume of gas varies inversely with pressure, assuming that temperature remains constant. Inhalation occurs when alveolar pressure falls before atmospheric pressure, contraction of the diaphragm, and external intercostals increases the size of the thorax, thereby decreasing the intrapleural pressure so that the lungs expand. So we have the picture in this slide, which is the volume of a gas varies inversely with its pressure, and has 1 liter of volume and its pressure is 1 atmosphere. And we have the second glass, which has a half of a liter of volume and has the more than the first glass. It has 2 atmosphere of pressure. So pressure change in pulmonary ventilation during inhalation, the diaphragm contracts, the chest expands, the lungs are pulled outward, and alveolar pressure decreases. During exhalation, the diaphragm relaxes, and the lungs recoil inward, and alveolar pressure increases, forcing air out of the lungs. As you have just learned, air pressure differences drive airflow during inhalation and exhalation. However, 3 other factors affect the rate of airflow and the ease of pulmonary ventilation. So surface tension of the alveolar fluid, compliance of the lungs, and airway resistance. The process of gas exchange in the body called respiration has 3 basic steps. 1, pulmonary ventilation, which is pulmo, it means lung, and or breathing is the inhalation or inflow and exhalation or outflow of air and involves the exchange of air between the atmosphere and the alveoli of the lungs. And the second, external or pulmonary respiration is the exchange of gases between the alveoli of the lungs and the blood in pulmonary capillaries across the respiratory membrane. In this process, pulmonary capillary blood gains oxygen and loses carbon dioxide. And the third, internal tissue respiration is the exchange of gases between blood in systemic capillaries and tissue cells. In this step, the blood loses oxygen and gains carbon dioxide. Within cells, the metabolic reaction that consume oxygen and give off carbon dioxide during the production of ATP or energy are termed cellular respiration. So, in pulmonary ventilation, air flows between the atmosphere and the alveoli of the lungs because of alternating pressure differences created by contraction and relaxation of respiratory muscles. The rate of airflow and the amount of effort needed for breathing are also influenced by alveolar surface tension, compliance of the lungs, and airway resistance. Okay, here we go, the table of modified breathing movement. We can see the movement and their description. It's called coughing, sneezing, shaking, yawning, sobbing, crying, laughing, hiccuping, and etc. Falsetto maneuver pressurizing in the middle ear. And the third section, we have lung volumes and capacities. So lower lung volumes exchange during breathing and the rate of respiration are measured with a spirometer. This is a spirogram of lung volumes and capacities. The average values for a healthy adult, male and female, are indicated, with the values for a female in parentheses. But it is a spirogram is read from right start of the record. This is which my pointer here. It is called start from right to the left end of record. Okay, so the lung volumes measured by spirometry include tidal volume, minute ventilation, and alveolar ventilation rate, inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume, and VEF. Other lung volumes include anatomic dead space, residual volume, and minimal volume. Lung capacities, the sum of two or more lung volumes, include inspiratory, functional, residual, vital, and total lung capacities. Okay, as you can see in the picture, we have some spirogram, which is it has tidal volume, expiratory reserve volume, residual volume. So tidal volume and minute ventilation. Well, while at rest, a healthy adult averages 12 breaths a minute, which is inhalation and exhalation moving about 500 milliliter of air into and out of the lungs. The volume of one breath is called the tidal volume or VT. The minute ventilation or MV, the total volume of air inhaled and exhaled each minute is respiratory rate multiplied by tidal volume. So MV or minute ventilation equal 12 breaths per minute times squared by 500 milliliter per breath, and it has 6 liters per minute. Then the fourth section, we have exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. The partial pressure of a gas is the pressure exerted by that gas in a mixture of gases. It is symbolized by Px, where the subscript is the chemical formula of the gas. According to Dalton's law, each gas in a mixture of gases exerts its own pressure as if all the other gases were not present. And this law states that the quantity of a gas that will dissolve in a liquid is proportional to the partial pressure of the gas and its solubility given contrast temperature. In internal and external respiration, oxygen and carbon dioxide diffuse from areas of higher partial pressure to areas of lower partial pressure. External respiration or pulmonary gas exchange is the exchange of gases between alveoli and pulmonary blood capillaries. It depends on partial pressure differences, a large surface area for gas exchange, a small diffusion distance across the respiratory membrane, and the rate of airflow into and out of the lungs. Internal respiration or systemic gas exchange is the exchange of gases between systemic blood capillaries and tissue cells. As is in the picture, is in this picture shows oxygen diffuses from alveolar air where its partial pressure is 105 millimeter Hg into the blood in pulmonary capillaries where pressure of oxygen is only 40 in a resting person. If you have been exercising, the pressure of oxygen will be even lower because contracting muscle fibers are using more oxygen. Diffusion continues until the pressure of oxygen will be even lower. Um, the, the pressure oxygen of pulmonary capillary blood increases to the match of the P or pressure oxygen of alveolar air. Because blood leaving pulmonary capillaries near the alveolar air space, this is alveolar air space, mixes with a small volume of blood that has flow through conducting portion of the respiratory system. Where gas exchange doesn't occur, the pressure of oxygen of blood in the pulmonary veins in here is likely less than pressure oxygen in pulmonary capillaries. So while oxygen is diffusing from alveolar air into the oxygenated blood, carbon dioxide is diffusing in the opposite direction. The pressure of carbon dioxide of the oxygenated blood is 45 in a resting person, and the PC, P or pressure of carbon dioxide of alveolar air is 40. Because of this difference in pressure of carbon dioxide diffuses from the deoxygenated blood into the alveoli until the pressure of carbon dioxide of the blood decreases to 40. Exhalation keeps alveolar at 40, oxygenated blood returning to the left side of the heart in the pulmonary veins, thus has 40 of carbon dioxide pressure. The number of capillaries near alveoli in the lungs is very large, and blood flows slowly enough through these capillaries that it picks up a maximal amount of oxygen. So most oxygen is transported by hemoglobin as oxyhemoglobin. It's called hemoglobin oxygen within the red blood cells. Most carbon dioxide is transported in blood plasma as bicarbonate ions. So the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between systemic capillaries and tissue cells is called internal respiration or systemic gas exchange. And the left ventricle pumps oxygenated blood into the aorta and through the systemic arteries to the systemic capillaries. As oxygen leaves the bloodstream, oxygenated blood is converted into deoxygenated blood, unlike external respiration, which occurs only in the lungs. internal respiration occurs in tissues throughout the body. And then in the fifth section, we have transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide. As you have already learned, the blood transports gases between the lungs and body tissues. When oxygen and carbon dioxide enter the blood, certain chemical reaction occur that aid in the gas transport and gas exchange. Most oxygen is transported by hemoglobin as hemoglobin within the red blood cells, and most of carbon dioxide is transported in blood plasma as bicarbonate ions. So the partial in each 100 milliliter of oxygenated blood, 1.5% of the oxygen is dissolved in blood plasma, and 98.5% is bound to hemoglobin as oxyhemoglobin. The binding of oxygen to hemoglobin is affected by the pressure of oxygen, acidity, and the pressure of carbon dioxide, temperature, and the phosphokyriate. And fetal hemoglobin differs from adult hemoglobin in structure and has a higher affinity for oxygen. In each 100 milliliter of deoxygenated blood, 7% of carbon dioxide is dissolved in blood plasma, which is 23% combines with hemoglobin as carbaminohemoglobin, and 70% is converted to bicarbonate ions. And last, in an acidic environment, hemoglobin's affinity for oxygen is lower, and oxygen dissociates more readily from it. It's called Bohr effect. And in the presence of oxygen, less carbon dioxide binds to hemoglobin. That's called Haldane effect. And the sixth section have control of breathing, which is the size of thorax is altered by the action of the breathing muscles, which contract as a result of nerve impulse transmitted from centers in the brain and relax in the absence of nerve impulse. These nerve impulses are sent from cluster of neurons located bilaterally in the brain system, and this widely dispersed group of neurons, collectively called the respiratory center. In this picture, we have a graph of the respiratory system, or its respiratory center can be divided to principal areas on the basis of location and function. First, the medullary respiratory center in the medulla oblongata, and the second is the pontine respiratory group in the pons. The respiratory center consists of a medullary respiratory center in the medulla and pontine respiratory group in the pons. The medullary respiratory center in the medulla is made up of a dorsal respiratory group, or called DRG, which controls normal quick breathing, and ventral respiratory group, or VRG, which is used during forceful breathing and controls the rhythm of breathing. And the pontine respiratory group in the pons may modify the rhythm of breathing during exercise, speaking, and sleep. The activity of the respiratory center can be modified in response to inputs from various parts of the body in order to maintain homeostasis of breathing. This include cortical influences, the inflection reflex, chemical stimuli such as oxygen and carbon dioxide and levels, proprioceptor input, blood pressure change, limbic system stimulation, temperature, pain, and irritation to the airways. Okay, we can see a picture of focus on homeostasis, which the respiratory system has contribution for all body system. We have muscular system increase rate and depth of breathing support increases activity of skeletal muscle during exercise. So the respiratory system support muscular system which increase rate and depth of breathing support increases activity of skeletal muscle during exercise. And also respiratory system support nervous system in nose contains receptor for sense of smell and its vibration of air flowing across vocal folds produce sounds for speech. And also respiratory system support endocrine system, angiotensin converting enzyme or ACE in lungs catalyze formation of the hormone angiotensin 2 from angiotensin 1. And respiratory system also support cardiovascular system. During inhalation, respiratory pump its return of venous blood to the heart. In lymphatic system and immunity, hairs in nose, cilia, and mucus in trachea, bronchi, and smaller airways, and alveolar macrophages contribute to non-specific resistance to disease. And also pharynx or throat contains lymphatic tissue. Respiratory pump during inhalation promotes flow of lymph. And have digestive system. Respiratory system forceful contraction of respiratory muscle can assist in defecation. And the second last is urinary system. Respiratory and urinary system regulates acidity or pH of body fluids. And the last is reproductive system. Increase rate and depth of breathing support activity during sexual intercourse. And respiratory system also internal respiration provides oxygen to developing fetus. So it is a normal or physiology homeostasis, and we have pathologies of homeostasis. It's called homeostatic imbalance. I using one of example from the homeostatic imbalances. It's called COPD or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, a type of respiratory disorder characterized by chronic and recurrent obstruction of airflow, which increases airway resistance. The principal types of COPD are emphysema and chronic bronchitis. In most cases, COPD is preventable because its most common cause is cigarette smoking or breathing secondhand smoke. So other causes, air pollution, pulmonary infection, occupational exposure to dust and gases, and genetic factors. Because men, on average, have more years of exposure to cigarette smoke than women, they are twice as likely as women to suffer from COPD. Still, the incidence of COPD in women has risen sixfold in the past 50 years, a reflection of increased smoking among women. So, it is a picture of a woman coughing because her alveoli is damaged, and we call it COPD because damage of alveoli. Okay, and biomedical engineering, we have to know there is a medical ventilator is a machine that helps your lungs work. It can be a life-saving machine if you have a condition that makes it hard for you to breathe properly. It helps to push air in and out of your lungs so your body can get the oxygen it needs. You may wear a fitted mask to help get oxygen from the ventilator into your lungs. So a doctor ventilator helps, and if your condition is more serious, a breathing tube may be insert down to your throat, and to supply your lungs with oxygen. Ventilators are most often used in hospital settings. A doctor or respiratory therapist will control how much oxygen is pushed into your lungs by the ventilator. Other names that a ventilator is known by include respirator or breathing machine, or it's called mechanical ventilation. Why would you need a ventilator? A bell, not being able to breathe properly on your own is known respiratory failure and is a life-threatening emergency. If your brain, heart, liver, kidneys, and other organs don't get enough oxygen, they won't be able to function as they should. So a ventilator can help you get the oxygen you need for your organs to function. Many types of health condition can cause you to have difficulty breathing, such as acute respiratory distress syndrome or ARDS, or COPD, asthma, brain injury, cardiac arrest, pneumonia, collapsed lung, stroke, coma, or loss of consciousness, drug overdose, hypercapnic respiratory failure, lung infection, and etc. The length of time you will be on a ventilator depends on the reason you need help breathing. If you need a ventilator during surgery, you will typically only be on a ventilator while you are in sleep, like state. This could range you from less than an hour to several hours more. If you need a ventilator for a health condition, you may need to be on it for hours, days, weeks, or longer. It depends on how long it takes for your lungs to get stronger and to be able to function properly on their own. A ventilator won't cure an illness. The job of ventilator is to keep you breathing while your body fights off an infection or illness, recover from an injury. So how does a ventilator work? This is a picture that you can see mechanical ventilator for positive pressure ventilation, which it has so many tube and monitor. It is for setting interface and patient monitoring. It has many mechanical ventilation blows air or air with increased oxygen through tubes into the patient airway. And it has filter, humidifier, which warms and moistens the air. And for exhaled air flowing away from the patient, and it is tube for air flowing to the patient, and it has tube, and the tracheal tube goes through the patient's mouth and into the trachea, and also has nasogastric tube goes through the patient's nose and into stomach. So medical ventilator uses pressure to blow oxygenated air into your airways and to remove carbon dioxide from your body. Your airway includes your nose, mouth, throat, or pharynx, face box, or larynx, windpipe, or trachea, lung tops of or bronchi. Oxygen from a ventilator may be pushed into your lungs and in one of two ways, with a feed mask or with a breathing tube. With a face mask, the use of a face mask to get oxygen into your lungs is known as non-invasive ventilation. With this type of ventilation, a with plastic face mask is placed over both of your nose and mouth. The tube will be connected from the mask to face mask to the ventilator, which will push air into your lungs. This method is typically used in cases where breathing issues are less severe. There are several benefits to this method of ventilation. It's more comfortable than a breathing tube that goes down your throat. It doesn't require sedation. It allows you to talk, to swallow, and cough. It may lower the risk of side effects and complications, such as infection and pneumonia, which are more common with breathing tube ventilation. And the second type is breathing tube. For more severe cases, you will need a breathing tube inserted into your throat and down your windpipe or trachea. This is known as invasive ventilation. You will usually be sedated before this procedure is done, as it can cause pain and discomfort. The breathing tube that's inserted into your windpipe is connected to a ventilator that forces air into your airways, so your body will be able to get the oxygen it needs while you heal from your illness or injury. If you're on ventilator for an extended period of time, you may need a tracheostomy. This involves a surgeon making a hole in front of your neck. A tube will be inserted into your trachea below your vocal cords and then connected to the ventilator. So the tracheostomy may also be used to help wean you off a ventilator if you've been on it for a long time. So that's all my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.